Hello, I'm Kathy Wilmot with Nebraska Eagle Forum, and I would like to visit with you about what is an Article 5 Constitutional Convention and why it is bad for our country. Under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, it states that Congress, whenever two-thirds of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of two-thirds of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments. From the language of Article 5, it is clear that calling a convention falls under the responsibility of Congress, and states are simply given the opportunity to apply. When looking at this subject, I have found that there's some big money that is pushing this idea throughout our country. On the right side, we have the Koch brothers, who have given millions of dollars to groups. And on the left, we have George Soros and his groups, the Young Turks and Wolfpack. Many brilliant men in our past have warned about the dangers of a constitutional convention. First, there's James Madison, the father of our Constitution, who said he absolutely trembled at the idea of a second convention. Alexander Hamilton dreaded the consequences of another convention. The U.S. Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger also warned that there is no way to muzzle or stop a convention once it has convened. And he also warned that it would be a convention that could plunge our nation into constitutional confusion and confrontation at literally every turn. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia also warned that it was not a good idea. He didn't want to see a convention, and you didn't know what would come of it. But there are proponents from places such as Convention of States with their individuals, Mark Meckler, former Senator Tom Coburn out of Oklahoma, and many other so-called experts who are pushing for a constitution. They travel the country guaranteeing the legislatures that there's no way that such a convention would ever get out of control. But it was interesting that in March of 2014, their very own General Counsel, Robert Kelly, who works for Convention of States, explained to a group that yes, it will open nearly every section of the Constitution. According to Convention of States, their call would be limited to simply 3 subject areas, but those subject areas are wide. Such things as the overreach of the federal government, fiscal restraints on the federal government, and also term limits. Convention of States on their website has published a 2018 booklet entitled Article 5 Convention of States Citizens Pocket Guide. On pages 33 and 34 of that booklet, it was interesting to find 13 possible amendment subject areas that delegates could wrestle with at such an Article 5 Constitutional Convention. And those ranged from everything from healthcare to energy policy to land use and also our education system. Michael Ferris is another leader who wants a convention. He states that he believes our judicial system should be designed more like the European Union, and we should have a Supreme Court justice appointed in each one of the 50 states. Well, where would it all end? I think we need to look back at our first constitutional convention. At that convention in 1787, delegates were given the responsibility of looking at the Articles of Confederation, simply making some tweaks and changes, and then they were required to have all 13 states ratify the changes. But instead, we all know what happened. They laid the Articles of Confederation aside. They wrote the Constitution that we have now, which was great, but unfortunately we don't have those same kind of leaders and individuals with integrity and learned status. And when they laid those aside and wrote our new Constitution, they determined they couldn't get all 13 states to ratify, so they changed that requirement to simply 9 of the 13 states. So when Convention of States and other proponents tell us that, oh, you need not worry because it will take 38 states to ratify any changes, and do you really think 38 states will do something wrong? How do we know that it's still going to be 38 states? And how do we know that it'll still be the same Constitution? In this day and age, every special interest group and all the big money will be requiring a seat at the table, and we just don't know what would happen. But as former Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia said, who knows what would come of that? We've amended our Constitution 27 times. We've done it by the other route that's in Article 5, the safe way. Nothing has ever gotten out of control with that. So we need your help in this battle to save the Constitution of the United States and the freedoms and the God-given rights that our forefathers staked out in those documents for you and for me. I hope you will join us in this battle as we go forward to protect our Constitution. Thank you for your time today.